For many thin wall applications, we use multiple gates on the part to achieve thinner wall thicknesses and reduce the part weight by as much as 15%. On this part, for example, instead of a single gate in the center, we have there are 3 gates at the bottom of the container. This reduces the flow length significantly, and the addition of the 2 extra gates makes the part easier to fill. The net result is a lighter part. Most often we're using multiple gates like this on large parts. However, in some cases it's also used on smaller parts, like this 2-compartment yogurt container, which has 2 gates here and here. In this case, the part can be made thinner due to the second gate, and at the same time it enables a consistent flow pattern in a multi-compartment cup like this, both because compartments are filling at the same time. One of our strengths in mold design is the fact that we custom design our hot runners in-house, so if something unusual is needed for the part, we can get creative to find a solution that works.
Ultra-fast technology in plastics industry, it means that we are shooting very fast, using the best injection molding machines, the best resins on the market, and we have to make the molds accordingly to the machine and the resin. The part weight saving is about 20%, which requires lots of mold flow analysis. We've got engineers who are doing that. They've got a software which they use in order to establish the proper flow. Based on that, we do also do flow analysis for the hot runners. And the hot runner, in case if, let's say, the injection time requires is 0.1 second, the hot runner has to be perfectly balanced. The hot runner basically makes sure that all the cavities are filled at the same time, at the same temperature, which is very important for the shrinkages rates. On top of that, the core and the cavities, the stacks, they have to be perfectly machined with very tight tolerances in order to make the final product consistent.
We have a very broad set of applications, especially in the automotive industry, as lightweighting has been an important topic at automotive for many years. Trexel decided to get seriously into the packaging market in 2018 when we developed our P series, which is a unit designed specifically for thin wall packaging. As we were looking at how to enter this market, we realized we were automotive guys and we didn't know a whole lot about the packaging industry. So we started thinking about what kind of partners do we need to do this right, and StackTech was at the top of the list. A couple of nice things happen when you dissolve gas into a resin. It drops the viscosity, so that makes the mold a lot easier to fill. As you're filling through foaming rather than through pack, it's a much lower pressure process, which has a lot of benefits. All of that really translates to the ability to design a much lower weight part, somewhere in the range of 20% to 30%. Here's an example of a product molded with MuCell. Some of the benefits of MuCell in a container like this, if you're looking at needing to fill out an area far away from the injection gate, typically with traditional injection molding, you're packing that mold until you can fill out these areas furthest away from the gate. With MuCell, you're injecting the material and you're letting foaming fill out these areas. So it allows you to think about part designs that might have a little bit more critical detail in some of the areas furthest away from your injection gate, and it really just opens up your design window when you start thinking about the kind of part you can design with MuCell.
The key points in a successful trim mold is to keep very dimensional accuracy of the mold components, cavity to cavity consistency. Trim process, we can thin out the panels to save the part weight, and we can save the part weight between 10 to 40%. In addition to that, we put much more efforts in the flow analysis of these parts. We fine-tune the flow leaders in such a way that the part can be filled easily, so that the width and the thickness of the leaders are optimized. This is a typical trim part. We did trim panels on this one to do a weight saving of 30%. There were some flow leaders introduced in between to maintain the structural strength of the part, and also for the plastic to flow through the flow leaders. So with the trim, we can do the weight saving similar to thermoform parts, but we can create some features which are not possible on the thermoform. Those features could be a very fine detail undercut or very fine detail dimensional controlled sizes.
With injection molding, you apply an enormous clamp force to keep the mold closed before you start injecting, and then you need an extremely high injection pressure to force all that melt through a very thin cavity space to get to the very end to form the part. With injection compression molding, you use a much lower injection pressure to introduce the entire shot volume into a partially open cavity and then rapidly squeeze it by applying a lower clamp force until the mold is fully closed to compression form the entire part. Weight savings up to 24% have been achieved. So here's an example of an IML injection compression lid. It has a very thin panel combined with a thick rim to provide optimal seal integrity. The part is inside gated so that the artwork on the label is completely unobstructed. Injection compression molds require the utmost attention to design detail and manufacturing execution to ensure uniform melt delivery into every cavity for optimum part quality.
Which of these ultra-lightweight technologies is the best fit for your product range and operation? Or perhaps you need a different green approach. Perhaps you need to look at biodegradable resins, or maybe you need to find a way to use post-consumer resin to address your sustainability challenges. We want you to bring your challenges to us, and we want you to tell us where you want to go with them. Please feel free to reach out to a STECTEC sales representative worldwide or contact me directly. And let's start a collaboration to turn your sustainability challenges into effective solutions.